Verse 1. In the 3rd year of the rule of Judah's king Jehoiakim, Babylon's king Nebuchadnezzar came to Jerusalem and attacked it. The Lord handed Judah's king Jehoiakim over to Nebuchadnezzar, along with some of the equipment from God's house. Nebuchadnezzar took these to Shinar, to his own God's temple, putting them in his God's treasury. Nebuchadnezzar instructed his highest official Ashpenaz to choose royal descendants and members of the ruling class from the Israelites, those that they had just captured, good-looking young men without defects, skilled in all wisdom, possessing knowledge, conversant with learning, and capable of serving in the king's palace. So, and Ashpenaz was to teach them the Chaldean language and its literature. The king assigned these young men daily allotments from his own food and from the royal wine. Ashpenaz was to teach them for 3 years so that at the end of that time they could serve before the king. Among these young men from the Judeans were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, but the chief official gave them new names. He named Daniel Belteshazzar, Hananiah Shadrach, Mishael Meshach, and Azariah Abednego. So the king of the Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar, has selected Daniel and 3 of his closest friends to be trained under his finest workers for his service. And from the very, very beginning of this book, the book of Daniel, we see Daniel sticking up for God. If you will continue reading with me in verse 8 of chapter 1. Daniel decided he would not pollute himself with the king's rations or the royal wine. He had appealed to the chief official in hopes that he wouldn't have to do so. Now God had established faithful loyalty between Daniel and the chief official Ashpenaz. But the chief official said to Daniel, "I'm afraid of my master, the king, who has mandated what you are to eat and drink. What will happen if he sees your faces looking thinner than the other young men in your group? What will the king then do to me because of you?" So Daniel spoke to the guard from the chief official that had appointed Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. "Why not test your servants for 10 days? You could give us a diet of vegetables to eat and water to drink, then compare our appearance with the appearance of the young men who eat the king's food, and then deal with your servants according to what you see." The guard decided to go along with their plan and tested them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, they looked better and healthier than all of the young men who were eating the king's food. So the guard kept taking away their rations and the wine that they were supposed to drink and gave them vegetables instead. Now, friends, don't look at this passage on what kind of foods that we are and aren't supposed to eat. One would be missing the whole point of this if they thought that this was a scripture arguing for vegetarianism. This is a scripture about a young man who knows in his heart what God has commanded him to do at this time. And at this particular time, God wanted his people to be eating certain foods.